Snips and Snails and Lizards' Tails. Part 1. Malt's week off began with the same doomed optimism as all his holidays, the belief that this time, finally, he might relax. He arrived at his mum's cottage just after noon. The door opened before he could knock. "Malt, darling!" Mum beamed, glamour shimmering around her like heat haze. To humans, she looked like a cheerful woman in her 60s. To Malt, she looked like herself, tall, elegant, green-scaled and delighted. She pulled him into a hug. Ginny floated in beside him, wide-eyed. Mr. Feathers perched on her shoulder, head bobbing with interest. "Oh, look at you," Mum fussed. "You're all skin and bones, and bruises and stress. Come in, come in." Mum gasped. "Oh, and who is this little treasure?" Ginny gave a shy wave. "Gin." "A human ghost granddaughter," Mum said proudly. "How progressive." Ginny glowed. Malt sighed. "Mum, she's not." "Nonsense, she's family now. Come in, all of you." Malt allowed himself to be ushered inside. He was happy she was happy. He was also already tired. "I've joined the Women's Institute," Mum announced proudly as she poured tea. Malt blinked. "Have you?" "Oh yes, lovely group. Very welcoming. Very crafty. They taught me how to knit tea cozies." She held up something that looked like a woolen squid. Malt smiled. "That's wonderful, Mum." Ginny whispered. "Is it alive?" Mr. Feathers made a noise of agreement. "I made you a tail warmer," she said, "for winter or stressful days." Malt swallowed. "Thanks, Mum, it's very warm." It was knitted in his scale colours. Ginny stroked it reverently. Mr. Feathers eyed it with suspicion. They settled for tea. Mum poured, then asked with casual cheer, "So, dear, any lizard lady in your life yet? Someone to raise a clutch with?" Malt nearly inhaled his tea. "Mum, no. I'm like you. Just never been interested in that sort of thing." "Oh, I was interested," Mum said cheerfully. "I just prefer the company of other women." Malt's mouth drooped open. Mum continued stirring the tea. "Why, Gliss and I were together for years. Lovely woman, very patient. She adored you." Malt froze. "Gliss was your partner?" "Of course, dear. You used to call her Auntie Glee because you couldn't pronounce her full name. We were together nearly a decade." Malt's eyes drifted to the mantel. A photo of the three of them, Mum, Gliss, and a tiny hatchling Malt smiling in the sun. A memory surfaced. Gliss lifting him onto her shoulders so he could see the fireflies. Her laugh, her warmth, her steady hands. "Oh, blimey," he thought. "I did wonder why she never slept in the spare room. And she really was lovely, wasn't she?" "Honestly, you never realised," Mum said. "We weren't subtle." "I was free, Mum. We were together for years, dear. You saw us every day. How did you not notice?" Ginny beamed. Mr. Feathers made a soft approving coo. Malt died inside, fondly, helplessly, unable to believe he never saw it. "By Sir Phyllis, I could be thick as a crock sometimes." Mum patted his hand. "And you know you were a parthenogenic birth, dear. Did it really not click?" Ginny blinked. "What's that?" Mum smiled. "Some lizards can have babies without a partner. Perfectly normal. Very efficient." "We did say a little prayer to Sir Phyllis for a blessing," Mum added lightly. "And then you came along." Ginny nodded solemnly. Malt wished the floor would swallow him. They reached the WI hall just as the afternoon sun turned the windows into sheets of gold. Malt paused on the path. "Give me a second," he murmured, adjusting the hem of his jumper and shifting his stance. Ginny tilted her head. "What now?" "Crowded room," Malt said. "Don't want to accidentally tail whip someone into a Victoria sponge." His tail was wrapped neatly outside his trousers, coiled around his thigh and secured with a soft leather strap, the tip tucked into his boot like a rebellious scarf end. Ginny nodded, impressed. Mr. Feathers made a sympathetic coo. Mum, Sylvia Gloucester WI, Glossal to nose and over properly, patted his arm. "Oh, you're very good at hiding it, dear, and I don't have to worry about mine anymore." She said it lightly, but Malt felt a familiar ache beneath the words, the same ache he remembered from childhood when she'd first lost her tail. He squeezed her hand. She brightened. "Now, chin up. The ladies are very excited to meet you." As they walked through the door, she added almost dreamily, "Gliss always said Sylvia made me sound like a school librarian, but she liked it, said it suited my human face." Malt smiled despite himself. Then Mum pushed open the WI door, and the noise of 20 cheerful women washed over him like a tidal wave of sponge cake and lavender. The hall was bright, warm and full of movement. Women arranging plates, pouring tea, laughing in overlapping threads of gossip. It smelled of sponge cake, floor wax, and the faint metallic tang of the old radiators. Mum raised her voice. "Ladies, my son's here. This is Mortimer." Malt smiled politely. Mortimer was his human-presenting name. He'd worn it since childhood. A delighted chorus rose up. "Oh, isn't he tall? Lovely jumper. London, how exciting. Sit down, dear. Have a scone." Ginny hovered behind him, invisible to everyone except Mum, who gave her a conspiratorial wink. Mr. Feathers perched on a chair back, unnoticed. The women bustled around him with warm, effortless hospitality, topping up his tea, offering cake, asking about London, asking about his job, administration mostly, and telling him he simply must come to the summer fete. One of the ladies spoke to him about London, her gaze briefly unfocused past his shoulder before snapping back with a polite smile. At some point, one of the ladies, Mabel he thought, touched his arm gently. "If you've a moment later in the week, Mortimer, we've a few little jobs that need doing. Boxes in the cellar, that sort of thing." "Only if you've time, dear," another added. "Of course," Malt said. "Happy to help." They smiled, thanked him, and drifted back into the cheerful bustle of the room. The afternoon was thoroughly pleasant, all warmth, chatter and sponge cake. The next few days passed in a way Malt wasn't used to, quietly, gently, without anyone trying to hex him, eat him or file a complaint. He helped Mum in the garden, trimming hedges while she fussed over her tomatoes. One morning, as the sun was still low and the grass wet with dew, a hedgehog waddled sleepily across the lawn, blinking like it had stayed up far too late. It gnawed half-heartedly on a worm, yawned and shuffled under a bush. Later they walked to the village pond. Ginny splashed in puddles the whole way, delighted by the fact she could make a splash at all. Mr. Feathers, emboldened by holiday spirit, waddled straight into the water and attempted to swim with the ducks. It went poorly. The ducks were polite about it. Crows cawed from a branch overhead, loud enough to make Mr. Feathers flap in a circle. Malt tossed some old bread for the birds. One crow accepted a bit of crust with a dignified nod. On a forest path, Ginny asked for a shoulder ride. Malt lifted her up without thinking, the movement so familiar it tugged at something deep in his chest. Gliss used to carry him like that. Steady hands, warm laugh, fireflies drifting around them in the dusk. Ginny leaned forward and whispered, "I'm very tall from up here." Malt smiled. "I used to think the same thing." One night, Malt woke to the sound of a fox rummaging in the bins. He padded to the window, half asleep, and watched it trot off with a triumphant half-baguette. Rural life, he thought. Bliss. He read on the sofa. He napped. He tried the tail warmer. It was embarrassingly cosy. He accompanied Mum to the shops. He fixed the leaky tap. He carried home a bag of WI-donated rhubarb he didn't remember agreeing to. He was, in every way that mattered, a proper holiday. Mum bustled happily around him. "The ladies were so pleased you agreed to help," she said. "They've been ever so kind to me." Malt smiled. "Actually, Mum, I've got a couple of questions about your WI friends." It was Thursday afternoon when Mum poked her head into the living room. "Mortimer, dear, the ladies have rung. They've got some boxes in the WI cellar they can't shift. Want to know if you'd mind popping over to help." Malt stretched. He and his mum exchanged a knowing glance. "I'd best not keep them waiting," he said. Ginny hovered closer, frowning slightly. "See you soon?" Malt smiled. "It's the WI gin. I'll be back before tea." She nodded, but her eyes lingered on him. Mr. Feathers gave a soft, serious coo. Mum squeezed Malt's arm. "Don't overdo it, dear.